Well, we better make this video short for 2 reasons. One, we have ice cream waiting for us. And if we don't eat it, nobody's gonna eat it.
That's the problem.
So we better eat it. Number 2, the subject matter of this video might be slightly boring to some people and absolutely fascinating to other people. I think we should not do it over there because there's something that we don't want to spoiler alert everybody. So I say we do it back here.
I'm okay with that.
This foam looks like a nice place to sit. So this is a video we've actually been planning on for a very, very long time. We thought we'd just touch on it. It's not going to be a lengthy video. It's not an exhaustive resource, and we're certainly not experts. But we thought we would just kind of share a little bit about what we've learned about the truth of no building codes. First of all, we'd like to just clear something up. We live in a county that has no building codes, and that's important. There's a lot going on there. One, building codes are usually administered by a county or a city. We live in a county. And so our county does not have building codes, but there are cities nearby that do. Something we didn't know, but we know now. The other reality is that that's building codes. Doesn't represent all codes. So when we had our septic put in, who administers the septic stuff? The state, right? So we don't have to get a city permit or a county permit, you get a state permit. So I don't know of a single state in the United States that doesn't have some sort of septic code.
Right.
That doesn't mean that people don't get, everybody goes and gets a permit. I'm just saying that if you think that you're going to go buy land in the middle of nowhere and you're not subject to any codes, you might want to do a little research. I'm not saying I know everything there is to know about that. I'm just opening up the conversation that
it's not,
every state
no
has.
Building codes isn't a free pass to do
Yes.
whatever the heck you want. I mean,
with no consequences.
there are areas, like in our area, there are no codes, so people kind of do, and I wouldn't say that today there's a lot of consequences. We know so many people that aren't doing anything to code, even stuff that I would say is dangerous and a public health hazard, because it's not really checked up upon around here.
Well, it all starts with the building permit. In most areas, when you get a building permit, you actually open a can of worms. You start like a landslide, right? And then they start having you go get your address, and then you have to get your plumbing permit, and you have to get your electrical permit, and you might have to get your HVAC permit. And then the clincher of it all is they have what they call an occupancy permit, which is kind of like, it's kind of like the trump card. Like if you do everything right, and we still want you to do something, we won't let you have occupancy until you do what we say. So the reality is around here, and in a lot of rural areas, the county just doesn't have the resources to administer building codes. So they don't have them. And people can build whatever they want. That's the truth.
Which is great, and in complete honesty, that's one reason why we're where we're at.
Yep.
It's not because we don't want to build to code. Jesse's gonna touch on that. We do want to build to code, but the fact that we don't have all these hoops to jump through in building our house, or have all these expensive permits to pay for and inspections actually benefits us, because those can be quite costly. I think where we came from, Jesse knew a guy that paid $50,000.
Yep. That's what permits used to cost.
And you had to build your house within 6 months. So if you're trying to build your house cash like we are, that could really hurt you and set you back.
Yeah. Yeah. So building, I think we're not the kind of people who are opposed to code. I think we like having some sort of agree upon standard. Like I want to go to a different place, and if I want to work on the plumbing, I want it to be somewhat standardized so I can fix it. Same thing with electrical. So we're all for standardization. It actually benefits the world. The fact that you're watching this video right now is because of standardization. It's because we use certain technologies. But my point is that where we live, we're able to build whatever we want. The building department said, whatever you're comfortable with. That was their response. So if we wanted to build a Taj Mahal, or we want to build a tiny house, we can do either one of those. Nice.
Like
the one bug flying around here went in Alyssa's mouth.
He's stuck on my lip gloss, like, I can't get out. Fly trap on my face. Moving on.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So that's the reality for us. But we want to just put it out there that does not mean that there aren't other agencies that are administering things like public health, So things like septic or hooking up to some sort of a sewer system. If you hire a contractor, be prepared to have to pull a permit on that, because it actually benefits the homeowner. If you don't understand how these systems work, and I'm not saying every inspector does their job, but it is helpful to have some sort of an authority checking up on contractors. That way, if they feel tempted to cut corners or to somehow trick the customer, at least somebody's kind of looking out for you-ish. That said, have we heard of a single trade that doesn't know a couple tricks or two to get the inspector to get them to do what they want?
We've talked to a lot of professionals, believe it or not, and everyone's talking about the things you can do to sweet talk the inspectors into cutting corners.
It usually starts with, if you're nice to the inspector, and then you can just add in whatever you want. So the reality is, even with building codes, people are trying to push those boundaries. And a lot of contractors will agree that building to code doesn't necessarily mean that your house is built well.
We have a lot of people tell us that because we don't have code, we should build these elaborate structures. And I think a lot of these structures are cool, except a lot of these structures we're not building because they're a little too experimental. And we don't ever plan on moving or selling the property. That said, we are trying to protect our investment. We're not ruling out selling the property as an option. Therefore, we are trying to build to code, and we're not trying to build anything too wild and imaginative, because that really reduces the risk or the chance that you'll be able to sell your property. At least quickly to a lot of people.
Yeah, it creates two problems. Maybe I can kind of fill in a little bit there. It creates two problems. One, banks are, if you plan on selling a house and you want to get paid for it, the majority of people are going to get a mortgage, which means you're building your house for the bank. You're not building your house for the buyer. We're not trying to build the bank standards, but what we are trying to do is not close doors. And the reality for a lot of people who buy land in this area, banks are skittish. Now, do people buy houses? Sure, they buy houses all the time. It's not that big of a deal, but they're going to make the buyer really sign away a lot of their interest, in that property, because unless they have some crazy inspection done and the owner, agrees to bring everything up to code, it's not going to happen. And I can't tell you how many people we've heard who buy land or buy a home around here, and what do they end up doing for the first year? Fixing it. They fix ridiculous, crazy wiring ideas that somebody had one time.
And a lot of this stuff, it isn't remotely to code. It's just
it's not even close.
I can't even make a good example.
There's areas in homes where you hit your head because the ceiling's too low and they put a post in the wrong place and the plumbing's all whacked out. So what we're trying to say is that no building codes means that everybody kind of does whatever they want. So if you're going to buy a house in an area with no building codes and that's attractive to you, you might want to be careful, because that's just the harsh reality of no building codes. People do whatever they want. There's no restrictions. Another reality of no building codes is that your neighbor also does not have building codes. We joke around here that Tyvek or house wrap is North Idaho siding, because there's nobody making a person finish their house.
Ours is Polyguard. We don't fall into that category.
Put it this way, if your house, there's got to be a redneck joke out there about that. If your house siding has writing on it,
exactly,
you might be a redneck. So,
but none of our neighbors can see our house. So
right now,
we're only affecting us.
Right.
Bugaboos talked to me a couple times about it, but he kind of understands.
Apparently the kids at school keep making fun of him because the side of his house says Polyguard.
So it'll make him stronger.
Polyguard. But what we're saying is that if you're the kind of person who wants to come up here and have freedom, or move to an rural area and have freedom, you have to understand that so do your neighbors. And so if you want to have no building codes, well, they do too. So if you buy this beautiful piece of land and you build a beautiful home on it, and somebody buys the land next to you and they build a half-done house that's covered in Tyvek, that's just the reality of no building codes. We just want to put that out there. It's a little bit of a misnomer, because a lot of people come up here and they're driving on oh, this neighborhood, this land is so beautiful, but the houses down there, they're a bunch of junk heaps. And I'm like, no building codes. What are you going to do?
Yep. So are no building codes a negative thing? I would say no. It's not, it's what you make of it. It's what you want. They're not for everybody. For us, as I said, it was very important that we be in an area with no building codes. That said, we do want to ensure we're building a quality, safe home for many years to come. So we have actually hired an engineer to engineer plans for us but we did all the work we could. We got as far as we could designing our frame, designing the floor plan, and we're running it by multiple professionals, trying to get a lot of input, making sure that we're building the best house possible.
Yeah, so no building codes gave us a few things that we wouldn't have had. We're not opposed to code. I think that's the point, is that code, people think that code is evil, and I don't think that code is really the problem here.
There are times, I'm sure, where you do see it as just a rule book and the rules don't make sense, and you know that you could do it better and your way is fine too. And I think I like that people can have that freedom up here, that you truly can build what you want.
What you lose in a lot of these areas that take code and they use it, instead of using it as intent, they use it as the letter of the law, and they're like, you must do it this way. They also force you to do it in a very narrow time window, and we still live in one of the states that allow people to pull permits as owners, which a lot of areas you're not even allowed to do. You can't even pull a permit if you wanted to. So you are forced to hire a contractor, which means you're forced to overpay maybe beyond your means for a particular service, which means you're forced to get a loan, which means you're forced to be under the subject thumb of the bank.
Oh, and so someone threw out the number that hiring a contractor only costs 5 to 10% more, and that's not true in our experience from what we've researched. So it's not just that if you pay a little bit more, you're going to get it done right. It just introduces a whole plethora of other problems and mortgage payments and 30-year mortgages. And
so we have been afforded the time to complete our home. We're not restricted on how long that it takes us to complete this project, where a lot of places with building codes, they have very tight deadlines. They don't like to have incomplete projects. They don't like open permits. And so because we have that freedom, that's part of what has made it possible for us to build a home without incurring any debt, is that we can earn the income that we can use to build the home. We don't have to go get a mortgage and then hopefully pay it off in the near term.
I think we cover a lot more of our financial strategy. We're not hiding this information. We've actually done, I think Jesse's done 2 or 3 videos on our debt-free strategy alone. 5? Wow. So we'll link to that playlist. A lot of great information in there. It's not about the building codes. I think our whole strategy is just extremely tiered. And part of the reason we're sitting down and making a video tonight is because we don't have time to talk about this stuff when we're building. It's absolute chaos, and it's just everything in us to document what we can and get a video out so we don't talk about a lot of these deeper subjects. And this video will not even... it's not even the tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg, I would agree with that. But we wanted to just kind of open that conversation up and share this with everybody, in case there are some folks out there. We get contacted very regularly by people who are, searching for land. They're talking about starting this type of journey, and we wanted to just put this out there because we have learned through hard knocks the truth about no building codes, and it's not quite the glamorous, all free, do whatever you want reality that I think a lot of people want to believe in, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. All this talking about building codes makes me want to eat ice cream.
I was gonna say, build a house doesn't make me want to build tonight. This is an off day for us. We're really recovering from what we can't show you guys.
We can't.
We're preparing for the next phase of our build. So I don't know. We're just really run down. Pretty good headache going on.
Yep.
Alyssa needs a night off with editing.
Well, we're trying to, we have like 300 videos that we were going to make one of these days, and we're behind on everything. So we thought we'd just throw this one in there. Hopefully if somebody finds it beneficial.
I think let us know if you enjoy these types of shorter videos that are more topically driven.
Yep.
Sometimes we feel that we're maybe showing a little bit too much of the house build, and not everyone enjoys that. It is our life right now, but unfortunately we leave a lot on the table of other things that we feel are important to this journey. So, I don't know.
I can go cut a piece of pipe if people just
I'll probably regret saying, let me know your YouTube thoughts, but I said it.
Maybe you should edit that out.
I probably should.
What flavor of ice cream did you get?
Chocolate chip cookie dough.
Are you going to share?
Probably. I ate a lot of dinner.
You don't have to lie.
But my opinion's subject to change on a minute-by-minute basis.
Right. All right. Let's go have ice cream.
That sounds good.
Come on. Hold on. Proof that we do have times where we are not sweaty and covered in sawdust, and we take time to appreciate each other.
It got down to 32 degrees last night.
Not good.
Which is crazy, because a week ago it was 100, so... Winter is coming.
So the only thing that changes is that we eat ice cream. We just wear more clothes.
We're colder about it.
And you'll hear a lot less of me whining and griping about the heat.
Yep. Now I'll find other things to gripe
Now I'm
about.
gonna find something else to complain about.
Taking suggestions.